Well, welcome everyone. I want to thank you for joining our superintendent and judges training. I'm Tony Pienta. I'm your LaSalle County 4-H coordinator. I will be hosting this training this evening along with Barb Krug, extension secretary, and Brent Sankin, who is our summer staff assistant. And he's been, I believe this is his third year with us doing this, but he's also a 4-H alumni. So we are very grateful to have him. He's our lifeline for this virtual show. So we do appreciate you participating and providing the continued support in our efforts to provide educational opportunities for our 4-Hers. And I'm going to share a couple housekeeping issues. If we do ask that you mute your mics and you enter any questions in the chat box. If you aren't comfortable doing that, you can unmute. It's just that we can't have too many people unmuted because it's interference with the mics and the sound. And with that, I'm going to draw your attention to the screen here
capital, small,
that we opened up. And this is the virtual show link that we have shared with all of our 4-H family members. They've received this via social media, via direct emails, and through their leaders. And I'm just going to scroll down. So they click onto this virtual show link and you'll see it's everything they need. This is no lie. It says right there, everything you will need for a virtual show entry is here. And again, we're a unit, so it includes the other counties with us. Their fair entry links are there. Their project judging tip sheets, directions on how they submit it, virtual show exhibit guidelines. They are directed to reference their LaSalle County 4-H show book guidelines. Then in addition, the virtual show exhibit guidelines that were created simply because of the limitations of having a virtual show. They're provided the forms that they need to then upload that you all will be judging. We provide them with everything. The project report form, we will go in detail later. That's just really the questionnaire. In place of the judges asking a question, they're writing it on paper and you then see that when you're judging, but we won't gonna get ahead of ourselves. They are required to put an exhibit card within their photo or video. And what that is a replacement of their exhibit tag. So you as judges and superintendents can identify them. We even have a form for Cloverbuds. We provide them directions on how to upload their video. And the video link, where they are to upload it to, they would have to go to our LaSalle County one. Again, their show books I had mentioned. Public presentation show information for those that are in public presentation. Then we move on to livestock entry guidelines. They're given ample guidelines and forms in this link. Dog show information as well. Horse show information. It's very detailed, specific to each separate species in regard to videos and the guidelines, which they then see when they open up the link. For purpose of time, I'm not going to open every link. Other livestock updates we've shared. As you can see here, we scroll through its other livestock for state information as well. And then we all know if you're in livestock, they will have to have completed the YQCA and the QAEC. So we've provided those links. So that's just a quick snapshot of what we've done to provide the youth as exhibitors with ample information. And I'm going to have Brent Sankin switch over to our instruction sheet, but I want to give you, while we're doing that, a quick review of what you're going to expect in tonight's training, and also review some supportive documents that you will receive to assist in your judging process. So all superintendents and judges will receive an email packet. And what that is really, it's the replacement of your binder that you usually get. You usually get your binder at the meeting, then you then share it and distribute that to your judges and superintendents, confer and go over everything in that binder. So we are having to do that in an email packet. That will include the LaSalle County 4-H show book guidelines for your project area, score sheets that you need, a file page of special awards that you will be required to assign to the exhibitors when you're judging, instructions to log into our fair entry system with the judging procedure, which we will be reviewing in this training. So let's talk a little bit. I've been asked about what the role is for the superintendents. And briefly, I'm going to say to you, we still want you to maintain a role, although with the virtual shows, some of that is replaced by extension staff, just for lack of in-person one-on-one and the electronic aspects that we know you can't do, we are doing. But we still do expect superintendents to oversee the judging process, provide assistance, and ensure that all awards have been assigned accurately. Now, some of you in your areas have special awards, best of show, delegate alternates, and we want to make sure, because we're providing you with those guidelines and forms, that you still are ensuring that your judges have assigned those accurately. And also the ribbons as well. And in regard to ribbons and awards, just a little FYI, our intention is to provide the ribbons and the special awards at a later date, presumably at our awards banquet, which is typically the first full weekend in December. So we're hoping to distribute in that manner. And I would like to share with you that our judging time frame, which you're going to be getting all this review in an email, but our judging time frame is actually the dates of the 4-H show, which would remain as July 9th through the 12th. I would like to emphasize to superintendents, please talk to your judges, ask them what if, for example, all general projects are typically mostly judged on the Thursday. If you want to still maintain that schedule and work with your judges and say, let's get it done on Thursday, you may do so. But what we want you to know is, because it's virtual and it's all new, and it might be a little more cumbersome for some, is that we are allowing you Thursday through Sunday. I will be emailing you the staff support hours will be Thursday through Saturday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Sunday will be available from 9 a.m. to 4. Don't worry about taking special notes. You're going to get this in an email, but it's just to relax you a little bit, to let you know you're not pressured. We're giving you a broad span of time there. So regarding communications, we, in the superintendent's role with the judges, because it's electronically, the best options that we can identify are that we provide you with your judges' emails and phone numbers. And it's between the superintendent and judges to decide, do we want to do texts? Do we want to do calls? Or do we want to set up our own Zoom? So let's say, for example, your judges have judged and they say, well, we have some questions, we need to talk with our superintendent. That's where you would have in advance coordinated with judges to figure out how it is that you want to communicate. What works best for you might not be the same. Some will prefer text, emails, and direct phone calls or Zooms. So with that, I think we'll move, Brent, if you could bring our instruction sheet up. This instruction sheet that we're going to be referencing is what you will be getting in an email. And this is what your guide to follow, so that you will then know. We have what's called affairentry.com. That's our data system. That's where the exhibitors enter their exhibits. Some superintendents are already familiar with this because, well, one, you are also a parent with kids, or we have given you login rights in past years so you could kind of follow your exhibit project area and see who's enrolling and how many. So, but we're not assuming everyone knows that. We are sharing this and guidelines and directions, but this is what we call our FAIR registration link. Now, I've already covered the virtual show information page link, but we are providing that to you as well, because you might find if someone asks you a question before you're judging, you might find, well, I'll just go to that link real quick. I know there were livestock guidelines. I know that there were general project guidelines and forms. So we have a lot of youth that do contact the superintendents with some questions. So you're still able to reference that in our show book in this virtual link. So you're going to really have a duplication. By next Wednesday, you'll get this email packet file, which will have the replacement of what's usually in your binder. And then you can talk with your judges after that. So I think we're going to move forward in this document. These other areas where the cursor is pointing to are where you can jump around in the screen. So Brent Sankin is going to lead the instruction because he's actually created to set this up. He's actually done our exhibitor trainings as well. So Brent, I'm going to hand this over to you. Any loose areas I'll cover at the end, and we'll take questions.
Yep. Okay, so you'll get an email from Fair Entry. You'll be it should say something along the lines if you've been added as a staff member, and it will have a username and a temporary password. Username should just be your email that it was sent to. Temporary password, easiest thing to do, copy and paste it. You can just go ahead and click this join your fair button, and it will bring up a window that looks something similar to this with an email and password spot. The other way you can do this, if you don't want to click join your fair, you can just scroll right up to the top. This is our fair entry link right here. You can just click that, and it will take us to the sign in page. This is what it looks like. I'm gonna click back really quick so we still have these instructions. So we put our info in, click sign in. The very first time that you guys do this, you'll have to pick your own password. I guarantee it'll be a lot better than whatever random password they give you as a temporary one. You can hit set, hit continue. And you can do this right when you get the email. I would recommend doing it right when you get the email, not waiting. But now we're to the step where it's time to do our judging. This is the dates that she mentioned earlier. First thing that we're going to do is logging in. Again, you can click that link at the top. You can go to this fairentry.com link. I'm going to actually take over and do it live on the website right now. So we have, a little too close, up at the top here, we have the staff sign in. Click that. And I put my test Gmail account in there with my password that I know, and click sign in. Now, here is what you're going to be presented with. You're going to want to click right up here at the top. I can't really highlight it, but it's this class results by hierarchy. It's the middle tab. Click that. And then this is where we can choose what areas you're going to judge in. Each individual judge, if I'm going to say I'm going to be judging beef, we'll do animals first. I'm the beef judge. That I will only be able to see beef, and so I'm just going to click through. You can see here. Normally normally you're judged by class. Here you can see the breakdown of all the classes that we have. These areas are usually separated into classes. I'm going to click this first class by hitting the select button. Right now, the 3 entries in this class are all by my test user, Tony Stark, so it's going to look a little bit, they're not going to be actual cattle. But beef and animals, livestock in general, plus some few of the general project exhibits, they will have videos as their presentation. So regardless, we're going to click this camera right down here next to this exhibit. There are no photos, which I'll get back to that when we do the general projects. There are no photos with this. Down here in the bottom, we see this video URL. This is the one that you would click, and it will bring up this, and you can click play. I don't want to let it play too long because we don't have the best internet here, but that is my cow or exhibit. You can let it play through that. You'll be able to judge the exhibit. Judges are encouraged to write down your comments. You can see, you can write down your comments. Livestock, I believe, not exactly sure which classes will get clarification on this. Livestock, you have the availability to place first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. Placing for the class. And then you have your ribbon colors. I'm going to give this entry a blue ribbon. Normally, you would go through. My suggestion would be to go through all of the other entries. You would give them a ribbon, write down your comments, and click the save button. And you can go right up here at the top. This next entry, you can jump through them, and then at the end, you have the certain areas have different awards that you're able to give. Um, Beef has a lot of special awards, so I'm going to talk on animals right now. You can click this trophy over here on the side, and you're able to select what award you want to give this exhibit. I'm just going to select the top one. Now let's say there's a situation where you need to give more than one. You can click back into it, click it again, you can see it changes to 2. These 2 are highlighted. Whenever you're done with that, you always want to click save and make sure things save. If you need to get out of it, you can click OK. And here's where you can see what you've assigned. And click on that and it'll show you what awards you've assigned. And yeah, that covers the animal side of things. Do we have any quick questions on video judging? A few seconds.
If you'd like to unmute and ask a question, if that's easier, to highlight the animal exhibits require video submission, not photos. You'll learn about the general project's requirements of photo entries.
This applies to any area. If you need to go back, you can just go ahead and click this browse, and you'll be back with showing all of your different classes you can choose from. I'm going to click on general projects now, where we'll move on to what most of the entries are going to look like. General projects, visual arts. I need to remember, I believe I have one in fiber. Yes. Alright. So I have my entry, Mr. Tony Stark. Same thing as the other one, I want to go down into this lower right hand corner, click on the camera. And here's where you can see the photos that are submitted. Most of the exhibitors will have submitted photos. It varies depending on exactly what the guidelines are for each project with how many photos they could submit. Same thing, you would write in your judging comments. You're able to pick your ribbons. I would hit save, and then when you are able to come back and award special awards, you can do that. Before we go any further, there are several other components to this. This image is very long. Most, if not, I believe all general projects have a requirement of the presenter to turn in a project report. Now what the project report is, I believe that is this one. This might not be an actual project report. No, it is not. I will show you what that is. The project report is there to replace sadly it's there to replace the face-to-face talking of the exhibitor. Here it is. So they can fill this in. This is for you, the judge, to look at. It gives them some information about them, namely their age and their years in 4-H. This is helpful to be able to, I guess, take into consideration how old are they and what's the quality of the project. Now, if it's someone that's an older exhibitor who should be more advanced at that point, then you can take into account their age and everything with judging. There's all these different questions. This doesn't cover everything. We would love to be able to speak to every exhibitor, but think of setting up a Zoom call with every single exhibitor. That would be a nightmare. But you'll be able to jump back to this page. You'll be able to click on this and it would open up your project report from that exhibitor. Now, there are instances where you won't see any photos, but instead of no photos, there might be 2 of these down here. That is because the exhibitor also has the option to submit a PowerPoint slideshow. It's going to behave the exact same way as your project report. You click on it, it'll open it up. They should have the exact same stuff. It might be presented a little bit nicer way, but they should have the same required photos for that exhibit. So you would go through and look at that PowerPoint, and then you can come back here and assign awards. This would work the same way if I had more than one entry in this class. I would be able to click next or previous entry. I'm gonna jump out of this. And then you would be able to see everything here. I'm gonna jump back over to these really quick so I can highlight a couple things. Here we go. So this is in your instructions that you'll receive. This is what it would look like with the PowerPoint and the project report. We're still working on getting this to display nicer. By the time you guys judge, it might actually display file names, but at the time that we're recording this and when I made these instructions, this is what it'll look like. You have a different section on each type of judging in your instructions. We've got the photo PowerPoint. So we'll walk through everything that I just did. And then also the video portion. Now I'm going to let this screen sit here for a second. After you assign your ribbons, most general project areas are going to have either a best in class plus a state delegate and alternate slot available for it. We'll also be communicating to the superintendents and you guys exactly how many slots there are. For example, visual arts has a number of slots for the state delegate and alternate. This is where you would assign scrolling down. This is where you assign the state fair delegate and alternate award to them. Unfortunately, fair entry does not limit you on the number of times this can be assigned. So if you are in a position or in a project area that has more than one judge in it, if you guys are all have 2 or 3 judges that are working together, like we mentioned, we'll work with you, the superintendents. We'll get something figured out to be able to collaborate. It's going to be important that you guys all make the decision together. Normally at the fair, you guys would all talk with each other at the end of judging everything and be able to think, all right, yes, that's definitely the one that deserves best of show, so on and so forth. So definitely make sure that if you have more than one judge in your project area working together to assign everything as it's needed. I think that's most everything that's everything that's in this guide. I don't know if you have anything else you can think of, Tony, or have questions.
Well, I know that it was a lot to take in, so if you all would want to share any questions, but just to reassure you, you are getting this emailed to you step by step, and then you would then be able to log in and look. And I will say, we've tried to clean up so that when you do log in, you only see your exhibit project area. It was originally going to be where you would have to search and you'd see everybody's. And so it is really clean. It will take you directly to visual arts if you're visual arts, or sheep if you're sheep. And you're only going to see that. So overall, it looks a little intimidating, but you're only going to see what you need to see. And I think one of the benefits are that you can move to next and or previous and go back. You might forget, wait, did I sign a ribbon to them? So you're able to maneuver in and out and through. So we have a question. If there are multiple judges in one area, will we be assigned exhibitors, or will we have access to all? That's a very good question, Emily. Since you do have multiple judges, we're going to have to figure out the best way for you as a superintendent judge relationship to, once you all go in and see how many you have, you're going to have to work that out with assigning that to each judge. Just like if you came to the show, the superintendent would say, okay, you're going to take A through F, and then you're going to take G through it. There's a few options, but I would say that the superintendent is going to have to assist you with our support on how that will be split up. So that way, you only, I would say alphabetically. Can anyone think of a more preferred way? Brent, Barb, superintendents or judges?
I'm trying to find, I know I have a class, I don't remember exactly which class.
And when also, I think if it's not alphabetically by the exhibitor's name, then the superintendent of visual arts might say, well, as a judge, I'm going to have you judge wood and carbon pigment. So the superintendent would assign, so that way only to go to those areas. That probably, in thinking it through, would be better. I don't know what you all think, but it's with your input, because we figured out a lot of this, but there's always questions that come up, and it's your insight that helps us. So this question was very, very helpful. So I would say you have two options: alphabetically by the exhibitor, or to assign the class area specifically to each judge. Anything else? I can't reiterate enough the assignment of ribbons and awards, because if we find that we don't have delegates or alternates or best of show, or those spaces filled, and if we attempted to contact judges and superintendents, then it would be really impossible for you to recall. So that's why we're giving you that time. You can review and re-review, and the superintendent can look and you can check, did everybody get a ribbon, and did everybody get assigned the special awards? Because you're going to have a special award sheet that says, oh, my area has a best of show. I have 2 delegates and 2 alternates that I can promote. I also have, and it could be a miscellaneous other award. And you're going to track that you have, in fact, completed those. So I suggest, as you select it, you check it off the document list that we have provided. And that, again, will be in that packet, I would say, that replaces your binder. Okay, we have a concern about the timing of the awards. We go in and review to make sure the awards are all presented correctly before the announcements are made. Oh, well, before anything goes public, have no fear. No one sees this until we allow them to see it. So you have a lot of time. You can even contact us and say, oh, we're having a problem, an issue with the delegate, and then we can help you. But you do have a lot of time, and this doesn't even have.
Tony?
Yes?
There was a question earlier of if we have any updates on the public or family viewing after the fair. Do we have an update on that?
No, we don't. That's what I was just saying. We don't have that information. We decide. Now I see here Terry Sankin said the last training said 15-minute updates. Brent, do you recall this? Because they haven't even devised completely how it's going to go public.
Yeah, that 15-minute update That was from our training with Dan. Um, that has been disabled. There is no automatic results publishing. We'll be publishing them manually when we decide. I
Yeah,
believe
just to
that's how
give
that
you,
was left. Yeah.
yeah, the state has not developed their teetering. The results practices doesn't even exist yet. The thought was they would just do a website and then it would be opened for some from the state level say 1 to 2 weeks and some say 2 to 3 weeks, but it would only be open for a brief period of time and then closed. So just to give you an insight on that, we completely control that. So there would be no need to worry. And once we do know from the state how that's handled, we will let you know when it goes public. We have to let the exhibitors know, the judges and superintendents, and we also have to do our own media releases based on that. And per our premium provider, we have to make this public. So we are controlling that, which is an awesome thing.
Okay, I have one more question. When does fair entry registration close? Is it midnight of the 29th?
Yes, we typically go with either 4:30 end of a business day or midnight of that day. And they'll be entering them up through midnight. And then we will close it. It's set at midnight. The system systematically does it that. And then we'll check them on Tuesday. Now, some questions came up that in the event people had some errors, we will be lenient. We have approximately a day we can work with and contact them if they need something. But we're hoping everyone, being this is their first time, they're not waiting until the last minute because it is their responsibility. And in the guidelines that they receive, they have to check a cute little box that says they understand if they haven't ensured that they have submitted a video and the required project report, that they will not be judged. So they have to do their due diligence, and we can't fix everybody's situations, but we are being lenient and we expect to be helpful the next day with cleaning up a few things. But after that, we have to move on so we can provide you as superintendents and judges with your information and prepare the documents needed. So I hope that answers that question. Anything else? Could the entries, pictures of exhibits be able to be posted on the county and our club's Facebook pages? Just trying to get some recognition for these kids out there to the public. You mean after they're judged? Okay, so after they're judged, we're being asked if the entries and the pictures of the exhibits could be posted on the county and our club's Facebook pages. I will say we do have photo releases and we have specific ways that we can use them. The families can certainly copy and paste independently on their own. We're restricted a little bit from social media to tag kids. Let's say if we post something, the child can tag themselves, we just cannot tag them. But it is for public usage. It is a public event. I will have a little disclosure. The state has recently notified us that we will have to provide language to the exhibitor. They can opt out, meaning that we would not include their photo in the media release. Now I'm going to just be real direct here. This is a public event. So my thinking is you participated in a public event. You would expect the public to then view. So if that exhibitor decides, oh, I don't want my exhibit shown in our media results, and then they forfeit their premium. So that's just something that the information, it was just freshly, newly reviewed, checked into. And again, that's from the Department of Ag premium provider guidelines that on one hand, we require that this is viewable to the public, but if an exhibitor says, well, no, I don't want it, they then forfeit. If that makes sense to you, I hope that covers that. I see another question. I'm judging dog obedience and I usually just judge the exhibitor's performance, but not assign ribbons. Is that now changed? Do I now assign ribbons? Actually, each area, dogs is like horse. They have different awards and ribbons. No, you're not required to. If you want to, you can, but in the Dropbox for awards and ribbons, you will have the placements. In fact, Brent, dog is very different because it's a scoring system, and the dog people will be provided with a score sheet. But in the Dropbox, there's for dog. In my mind, I'm not drawing on what the dog awards are specifically, because I know we've been working in preparing in consideration of the score sheets, so that then they are promotable to the state dog show. So every area has its own section of special awards. And you will, if you're in dog as a judge and superintendent, if there's a special award you need to give out, you're going to get that in your email packet. It's going to be a document that states the following awards must be assigned. So do you have any other input, Brent, in regard to that?
I just went looking for that. I don't have the actual dog sheets up there yet.
Okay. You will have ample resource information that tells you what to put in. We also have to recognize what you normally do. We're not changing your system by no means, and we don't want to do that. So we will accommodate. Another question here, just to check my understanding, judging will open July 9th and open until 11th. No, you're close to right. The judging is July 9th through the 12th, which is our regular fair days. And you can judge at any time during the day. It's just that we have shared at the beginning, and you'll get this in an email, your staff availability as a resource for support, to ask questions to, and to assist you will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then Sunday, 9 a.m. to noon. So if you're wanting immediate assistance, you would have to contact us. We will be sitting at our computers and waiting. And so I hope that answered clearly. And now I will say, and I spoke of this earlier, superintendent might lead their judges to say, hey, let's just focus and get ours done by Thursday. Or let's make sure we get ours done Thursday and Friday, so we have some time to clean up anything, or provide extension opportunity to respond back to you with any questions we may have. That's completely up to the superintendents. We are just offering July 9th through July 12th, and our staff support hours were as noted. Does that make sense and answer the question completely? Okay, great. Did I miss any, Barb?
No, not, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay, I'm caught up then. Okay. These are all great questions, and it's just a lot, but once you see the, you'll have your typical score sheets and your regular guidelines, you'll have your instructions, and once you check in and you have it laying all in front of you for a quiet moment, I think that you'll really appreciate. I know that we're getting some joy out of receiving the videos and the photos, because it does excite us. We have some concern, but we want to remain hopeful what our exhibits totals will be. So they're coming in slowly but surely and building. You most likely will not have the same level of exhibits to judge as you would in a traditional in-person show. We know that, we recognize that. We're just very happy for those that are willing to participate and venture out into this new transition and way of doing things. Did someone want to ask a question there? I heard a click.
Are the foods exhibits, will they be cut into so that we can judge on texture and crumb?
Yes, foods has been a touchy one, as you can imagine. Food guidelines are very specific, and Brent, are you able to pull up food guidelines quickly? So if you could pull up the food, then you'll see they are told specifically what photos to take. And bear with me here, because we've been through multiple weekly trainings that have changed the guidelines. We'll go to general project and scroll down to foods, which is food science now. They're directed to take a photo of, let's say it's a cookie, the top of the cookie, the bottom of the cookie, and then open it up and zoom in. And they're asked specific questions related to the baking and the process. And yeah, the first response with foods was, how in the world can you judge something you can't taste? So we're very aware at a statewide level that, that can be questionable. So you'll see here, it'll say the photos and what must be, you'll see images, items must be close up, cut in half, and then image of the recipe used and image of the bottom prepared food item. This brings to light a question just across the board. It is not noted in the guidelines, but I think the state missed on this opportunity. Any requirements that might state in our LaSalle County 4-H show book that says you must provide the pages from your project manual. Any direction to project manual provisions, we are negating that. The state level is. They are not required to provide project manuals, project manual pages, or to complete an activity in the project manual. And I need to share with you the reason why. The reasoning is that not all 4-Hers had an ample and fair opportunity to get their project manuals. The state closed down the warehouse in March and stopped distributing them. So it isn't fair to require that if they were unable to access that. So the state made a decision later in the game when we addressed it, said we might run into some problems because they don't all have their books, and then they then directed that is not a requirement. They have to follow the base direction in the 4-H show book, but their project manual that they worked on throughout the year is a whole different book, and some of them weren't able to get them. Does that make sense to everyone? I'd like to give you a little bit of an insight as to why.
Oops. Oh,
You'll see here that the exhibitor gets that what's right in front of you. It's so specific with what they have to do. So, and we've provided them with training in which to do so. We recorded 2 trainings. They've been provided that great guidance. They've been walked through. They just need to read. Now we are holding them accountable. This is their virtual guidelines right here. And they had to have at least met the virtual guidelines pretty much to the T. Again, it's about following the rules and referencing the guidelines. So I hope that helps give you a little bit of insight. Anything else? Questions will come up while once you get your packet next week, and please feel free. We are accessible, Barb, Brent, and myself. And Brent, I'd like to make a note if we could include that on one of the forms, that the extension staff resources, our names, and our emails. I see another question. Will the kids that are doing rocket projects be required to have their instruction manuals? I don't know, I'd have to look. Brent, can you scroll to rocket? Again, forgive me, but I don't have all this memorized. You will find some areas, I think aerospace requires is it videos or slide? No, a couple of them, robotics requires a video. There's a couple areas in general projects that require videos, but most are photo. So they will have to provide their building instructions. Now it says if applicable. See, it's a little gray there.
Which that would come with if they did a kit or a model rocket, I believe. That's not relying on 4-H to provide that instruction manual. It should have came with their kit.
Sense.
Yeah.
Okay, good question. And again, you'll be provided with these guidelines so that you can reference and know, hey, what am I to expect? What were they told to do? You're getting this document here that's specific to your area. Did that answer it fully? Okay, any more questions? You've had some great ones, but again, I want to open it up that you all know you've been getting a lot of emails from me. I always copy Brent and Barb. The three of us are a team. We work together because we couldn't do this alone. This virtual show preparation, you know, is very detailed, and we have to make sure that we have some availability to, at every level, each of us have our areas. And Brent's has certainly been the technology area. So when it comes to the internal technology aspects, we even lean to him. So, but please remember that we are the three available. Our emails are always in the emails I've sent out to you, but you're going to get that on your documents, who your go-to is. And we'll put that in with the superintendent role and judges roles. We'll have some guidelines. I did send out an email today to all superintendent and judges, and you all should have received it. And I did touch base a little bit on what is your role. So feel free to email separately if you have additional questions, because that's how we can jump on it and maybe prepare everyone better if you share some of your questions and insight with us. Are the judges to silence the videos? Sorry, Barb. Barb's our co-host. Terry, I'm not clear on what you mean by that.
Are the judges to disregard the audio portion of the videos?
There shouldn't be audio in livestock. The
So-
livestock videos should be silent.
So in other words, I believe the judges you are instructed to mute the videos. Most cameras or phones don't have the ability to not record audio with that, so there's more than likely going to be audio with most of them. But yes, for livestock, I believe, yes.
Some videos are having recorded verbiage. Well, just to bring everybody up, the guidelines, as you'll see once you receive them, state that there is to be no conversation. We know there's going to be background noise. We know, but they are not to be talking. The person videoing the exhibitor is not to speak and direct the exhibitor, and the exhibitor is not to speak back to the person that is videoing. They're guided to, and it's written in their guidelines, to look to the camera person as if that's their judge. They are showing the judge their animal in the ways that they should be via the guidelines for each species. They are not to talk and communicate to each other. You're going to hear some background noise. We've already seen some where we hear children in the background, but Brent's showing right now, for those of you that are, there we go, there's Terry's. So they're very specifically before that guided to, you know, not have the dialogue and to recognize the camera person as if it is the judge. These details, and there's requirements, and then there's guidelines, and then there's tips, and the state did try to provide and cover everything they could. So does that seem to cover it adequately, Terry? And again, I'd like to reiterate that because this is new, and because we still want to emphasize following directions in the guidelines, and because they're having to refer to the LaSalle County 4-H show book in addition to the video guidelines, it can get confusing. There are a few gray areas where there isn't ample information provided, so it confuses the exhibitor, rightfully so. So we have been trying to help them, and we will then be reviewing, and we encourage you. There's a level of leniency and flexibility that we allow. But if the virtual guidelines specifically say something and they did not abide by it, then you're going to have to take some points or consider that in your judging. The videos have guidelines depending upon the animal, how many seconds. For example, you can see on the screen, videos should be roughly 45 seconds. They must not exceed 60 seconds. And it directs them. And the state had provided individual guidelines to the kids to say, try to stay as close to that 60 seconds as possible. We wouldn't want to see you give them takeaway points if they went over by 1 to 3 seconds. Let's say we unfortunately can't be that particular because it's just too complicated to do so with a live animal and while they're videoing, and this is a first experience for everyone. So there's an area of flexibility that we encourage you to consider within reason. And that's another area where you would reach out to your superintendent and or the extension staff that will be available. So, okay, well, I hope that you found this helpful. But I know it was a lot to take in, and we do appreciate you investing. Did I have a question coming in? I'm sorry, I heard some noise. So I hope you found this valuable. We are working very diligently to keep the lines of communication open with you. We know we've had some email glitches, which we apologize for. Some were email errors and typos. Some were just apparently on the recipient's end, large group emails were just not user friendly. And when the email wouldn't open up, so I was sending them individually. So I apologize if anyone missed any information. Please don't feel left out. We were, as your superintendents confirmed who was judges, we then confirmed your email and included you. So again, this will be recorded so that it will be accessible, and you can reference that, and we'll provide that next Wednesday also. So you're not going to really be missing out on any resources. Sometimes we can overload you though, and our intention is to do so in a helpful way. And with that, folks, I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you look forward to hearing from us. And I guess we'll close the meeting and appreciate your help. So good night, everyone.